Being fit is hard. Being overweight is hard. Being unhealthy is hard. Choose your hard. One of the biggest hurdles I see for people in my clinical practice is diet. Like, I think we tend to, especially people that have like kind of addictive tendencies and binge eating tendencies, it's like, I want to taste this, I have a craving for this, and your whole like focus on food is like, how does it taste in my mouth for what, 30 seconds while you're chewing it? Taking that mindset and shifting it to like, how do I want to feel? How do I want food to make me feel? Okay, I'm gonna try a new format. It's called driving and talking at the same time. One of the biggest hurdles I see for people in my clinical practice is diet. And they'll ask me like, Dr. Adrienne, why does my acupuncture, like, I feel amazing when I leave the office. I leave the office, I feel so much better, and it will last like 24, 48 hours. And then I'm kind of right back to before, and that can be disheartening because you're spending money, you're taking time to go get treated. It'd be great if the treatments could last longer. And so there's that set of patients that, you know, their pain relief doesn't last very long, 48 hours tops. Then there's the other patients who can come in and they can get a treatment once a week, or once every other week, or once a month, and they have a lot longer stretches of relief from the acupuncture. And I noticed that those patients typically have a cleaner diet, or not even necessarily that the other patients who have less relief time, not that their diet is so terrible, but you know, some of them might be eating pretty well, but they're eating inflammatory foods, right? So like a lot of foods that are highly inflammatory we think of as healthy, right? Like tomatoes and potatoes, you know, basically all the nightshades, so peppers, tomatoes, eggplant, potatoes, and then grains with their lectins, high lectin foods, mainly grains is what I'm thinking of, that aren't processed well, beans that aren't processed well. Those foods are also inflammatory. So you can go get a great acupuncture treatment, and then you go home and you eat a, you know, big pasta dinner or something, and right away that inflammation that we kind of kicked out with the acupuncture, we relieved, we lowered with the acupuncture, is going to shoot right back up, and that's why your pain comes back so quickly. So I find myself saying this, repeating this to patients, like, if you want to maximize your acupuncture, if you want to lower your pain for the long term, you got to consider an anti-inflammatory way of eating. For people to be motivated to do that, it really takes one of two things. The first is terrible pain. Like, people, once they're in enough pain, once they're miserable enough, they're willing to do the harder things, like change their lifestyle, change their diet. One patient in particular, you know, it's like, I don't have it in me anymore. I don't want to live anymore. I'm in so much pain. And I said, okay, so you're at rock bottom. Let's try the diet piece. That is the thing that this patient really had not been open to before. He loved pizza, he loved beer, he loved, you know, all the foods that we all enjoy that don't make us feel that great. But he also was in so much pain that he couldn't do anything. He didn't have a life anymore. He couldn't play with his kids, he couldn't work, you know, I mean, so it's kind of like this poem I remember, I think Barbara O'Neill quotes this. Yeah. Choose your hard. Like, I'm not going to say the poem, but basically it's like, you know, marriage is hard. Divorce is hard. Choose your hard. Being fit is hard. Being overweight is hard. Being unhealthy is hard. Choose your hard. So, like, we get to decide, you know, we're sovereign individuals. We get to decide what we want to choose for ourselves. But either way, it's effort, you know, it's effort to be in shape and to eat right. It is a lot of effort, and I get why people don't do it, because it's a lot of work. Sometimes I'm in the kitchen for too long, for too long, and I think, gosh, maybe I should just start eating fast food. Like, this is a lot of time. But then if I ate fast food all the time, that would be another heart. It's expensive. I mean, it's expensive to eat out all the time. And then your body pays the price. It's expensive energetically to be in pain all the time. So anyways, so there's that piece. But basically what I'm trying to say is, to achieve real health, to achieve a relief of your pain that's significant, that's not just fleeting, you got a cortisone shot or you got whatever kind of new pain relieving drug that they're having you try. I mean, none of these things are long-term solutions. But eating in an anti-inflammatory way, changing your diet, looking at food in a different way, that is a long-term solution. Excuse me. And so how do we do that? That's what this video is about. Is like, how do we change our mindset? How do we shift our perspective on food so that it doesn't seem like drudgery, it doesn't seem like self-denial or too hard. You know, I get it. Like, I see patients who really, they struggle with their weight, they struggle with energy, they have multiple conditions that are really dragging them down, and you don't have the energy to make these big changes when you feel that way. You don't. And that's why everyone's loving Ozempic right now. It takes away that piece of like overeating, and just that little bit of weight loss that happens at first is like enough to boost your motivation and kind of give you a little bit of energy so that you can continue to make those changes you want. And I've had patients have a lot of success with it. I'm not here to talk about that today, but I would lump that into another one of the short-term fixes. Like, I think it can be useful short-term when somebody is like, there's no other way that this is happening, there's no other way that I'm going to be able to start to make these changes. Then I would say short-term, maybe try it, but there are a slew of serious side effects from those drugs. You definitely don't want to be on them long term. And you got to figure out a way that when you go back to not being on them, that you have changed your behavior so that you don't just go back to what you were doing before, because then you'll be right back where you started. Give yourself some grace. This is a difficult shift to make, but it is also worth the chipping away at the problem slowly and developing those tactics and new habits, because this is a lifestyle change. You're going from somebody, you're changing your identity in a way. You're going from somebody who doesn't have self-control, who doesn't believe that they're maybe worthy to feel better, to somebody who is fit, is self-controlled, wants to eat the healthy food, wants to eat the vegetables, and wants to prepare their food at home. This is an identity shift. It's not going to be overnight. So, yeah, I wanted to say that about giving yourself some credit, being kind to yourself. You mess up, you just get right back to it. You mess up, maybe you go to a party and you like totally blow it. Okay, fine. That was like a feast day. And then the next day maybe you'll do an intermittent fast. Maybe you'll do like, I'm just gonna have miso soup and some, steamed vegetables. Like, it's okay. We're gonna mess up. The quicker we can just rebound and get back on it, the faster. Don't spend time. We don't have to spend time, on self-pity or hate, self-loathing and spiral into this, because that's just gonna compound the problem, right? And the other thing I wanted to say is, like, we have to make it more simple. Like, we're making this way too complicated. Our grandmas, our great grandmas maybe, you know, they were eating fats, they were eating gluten, they were eating all these things that now we are told, oh, this is so terrible for you, you can't eat that. And I agree, like, you can't eat, you know, when you go to the store and you buy like that bread that's in the bread aisle and it's been sitting there for 2 weeks, and it can sit on your counter for another 2 weeks and it looks the same as it did the day it was baked. That is not food. That stuff is toxic because it's got a bunch of dough conditioners, it's got a bunch of preservatives, things that shouldn't be in there. Like, did you know that the McDonald's hamburger buns contain a chemical that's like the same chemical that's found in yoga mats? Makes yoga mats squishy. It's like, these chemicals are not meant to be ingested. That's not like, that's plastic, right? Like, we can't, our bodies can't break that down and can't excrete it easily, maybe ever. That has nothing nourishing about it, right? And so I think that there's this real need. I'm gonna have to pause now. And quiet. This is good. I think I might go back to filming the videos just in my studio here. I don't know how the road noises were for you all. Okay, but last point was just thinking about going back to eating the way that our grandmothers, I guess it would probably be more like your great grandma or your great great grandma was eating. You know, they weren't worried about gluten and fat and low sugar and keto and carnivore and all this stuff. It was like super simple because you ate what was around. And again, this kind of ties back into what I was saying about like how unnatural it is that we have any food at any hour of the day available, you know, cheaply and instantaneously, basically. But, you know, I mean, I'm not knocking like the keto diet and all these diets. Like, I think that people can have a lot of success with them. But again, I guess my view is that it's a diet. Like, if you think about changing your relationship with food and yourself to the point where you can just eat a certain way, a healthy way for your lifespan, and it doesn't have to be like a diet that you're on or off, I think that's ideal. And a diet tends to make us feel like we're missing something or like we're being deprived of something, and then that feeling over time leads to like binge behavior, or, you know, to every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if we're, you know, super disciplined and we're, you know, real regimented for a while, I think for most of us, not all of us, like, you know, I'm sure David Goggins or Andrew Huberman or some of these people, maybe they never cheat, you know, maybe they're perfect with their diet. I had one of my mentors actually tell me that she was pristine with her diet, and I was like, well, good for you. That's really impressive. I'm not. It's a challenge. I love food. When you love food, food is so it's such a part of the human like expression of celebration and like tradition, and so I want people to be able to enjoy that. So I think that a better way to approach diet is to eat like your great grandma. You know, she was eating, unless you're allergic to gluten or something, you know, you can eat wheat, you can eat flour products that are grown in a traditional way and processed in a traditional way, and shouldn't be this like health crisis. So like, if we can eat organic flour, ideally from grains that haven't been hybridized, so like spelt or einkorn, whole grains that haven't been, what happens when you hybridize the wheat is that you make the gluten content shoot way up, the sugar, this like the carb content, everything that's kind of the worst of the grain shoots up, and the better qualities like the mineral content and the vitamins, the vitamin content, that all goes down, the alkalinity. So I think it's more, and I'm not going to get into like the specifics right now, but I just wanted to more talk about mindset today, and like thinking about why you want to change your diet and what it says about you when you struggle to change your diet, like, and not in a self-condemning way or a guilt-tripping way, but like if you struggle to change your diet, there's deeper things going on. It has to do with your self-worth and like your relationship with food, and that's okay. But if you want to fix it, then you got to know, then you got to talk about, ponder these things, hear from people who've pondered these things, that's why I'm sharing this, because I do talk to every patient about diet and I see these patterns. And I guess what I want to bring this back to is trying to think about food, not as far as like what you want to taste. Like, I think we tend to, especially people that have like kind of addictive tendencies and binge eating tendencies, it's like, I want to taste this, I have a craving for this, and your whole like focus on food is like, how does it taste in my mouth for what, 30 seconds while you're chewing it, a few minutes while you're eating it. But taking that mindset and shifting it to like, how do I want to feel? How do I want food to make me feel? Not just the taste, but like energetically after I eat it. How do I want to feel? I want to feel energized. I don't want to feel tired after I eat. I don't want to feel like I have to take a nap or drink a coffee after I eat. Occasionally, sure. Like if you go out for a big birthday brunch, you might want to take a nap or have a coffee, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the daily behaviors that we have. I want to feel energized by food. I want to feel mental clarity. And I know the things that I can eat to make me feel that way. And so that's a passion of mine, is to help patients figure out what they can eat to make them feel the way they want to feel. And I guess I'm going to cut it off now. I'm curious to know like where you all would want me to go with this, because in this topic, like we could go a lot of different directions. We could talk about like specifically what foods you can trade out. Like I'm pretty good at figuring that out. Like, I'm really obsessed with this candy, or I'm really obsessed with, pasta. And so like there's ways to eat the things you like to eat, but do it better. So there's a lot of tricks that I've discovered over the years, mainly from just personal experience. Like I tell you, I'm honest, like I'm a foodie. I love to eat, and I want to enjoy my food. And so I've figured out the different things I can eat to kind of replace the not so healthy cravings. So there's that. Or we could go the direction of like examples of diets, or we could go the direction of like the science, and again, like talking about the wheat hybridization or dairy. Like how were our great grandmothers eating these things and they weren't getting sick like we are? What were they doing differently? Because they were eating dairy, they were eating sugar, they were eating wheat, and they were not in the same boat that we are. And some of that has to do with like environmental factors. We're in our world right now is more toxic than it was for our great grandmas, but still our body is amazing and our body can detox, and so there's ways to support it in that and still enjoy food. So I think that's it for now. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.